Okay, if we can get our elders back to the stage, and if we can get all the children to come up front. So if you have any questions, so you can hear a little better, all the little ones, if you want to come to the front. So, are you guys enjoying yourselves?
Yes.
Yay. Okay. Okay. Did you guys learn anything?
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So this is our Feet of the Elders session, and we may even start doing this more often. More often. So we just rotate and have different elders come out, and even not just elders, but just people who have some good information that they can share with the youth that'll help them along the way. So therapists, people who specialize in youth counseling, so things of that nature. So this is our Black Wall Street Renaissance. We do this each and every first Saturday of the month. Like clockwork, with the exception of January. We take January as a hiatus, and this is our very first one for the year. So thank you guys for coming out. We do this again. We fill the room, as you see, with vendors. All day shopping from 12 to 6, and then we open the stage up, as you can see, for different activities right here at Everlasting Life. So if you're online watching us and you're local, keep us in mind for March. March is coming first Saturday, and we'll always have something different and exciting going on here at Everlasting Life. Okay, so the elders are going to come back up on the stage so we can get some questions and answering going. We got about a half hour. And then this event runs until 6 p.m. Family, somebody got the time? What time is it?
It is 4:26.
4:26. So we'll go until 5 o'clock with the question and answer, and then we'll have another hour for shopping, and then we have to get out of here because we have another event right after ours. So we really got to pack fast and move fast. But again, if I can get the elders to come up on the stage so we can speed up the question and answer session. So, does anybody have questions? Okay, good. There are questions in the room. Okay, family, if I can get you guys to lower your voices just a little so we can hear the elders as they answer the questions. Thank you. Okay. Yep. So this young lady here has a question.
You gotta tell us your
Hello.
name before you ask your question.
So my name is Kalima, and I have 3 questions actually.
Oh.
So my first question is, for all of you guys, I heard that you have had very successful careers during your lifetime, and my mom homeschools me, and I am currently learning about youth entrepreneurship, and I already have started youth entrepreneurship. So I wanted to know if you guys had any advice to give me about how to be more successful in what I'm doing. Then I heard that you, personally, when you were little, had a lot of different interests, and you found a way how to do all of those in your lifetime. I also have a long list of different interests. I don't necessarily want to find out how to combine them all into one, but I wanted to know if I decided to pursue all of them and maybe just choose the ones that I highly like the most, what would be some advice for that? And then my final question, I think that was it. Yeah, that was just those
Tell them
two.
how old you are.
I'm 14.
Okay.
Kalima, you are a shining star,
Thank you.
and I know we're going to see your star rise. We're going to watch you. I'm going to take your last question first because
You can see
I, like my sister here, traveled a lot of roads, took a lot of journeys. I thought I wanted to be a singer. I thought I wanted to be an artist. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. And I ended up having a very successful business as a natural hair care technician and teacher. In that, I have to say, doing hair was something that is natural for us, right? So I never thought of it as anything that could give me an income. And I want to say this to you very clearly. The thing that you don't really pay attention to a lot might be your niche, might be the thing that's going to take you to those heights, those great, great heights. We don't know that. So for me, it was sitting down at 5, 6, 7 years old, braiding my baby sister's hair, and then going through all of the no's that I got. I couldn't do a recording company. They wouldn't take me. I had my paintings and my drawings. They weren't good enough to go to the Art Institute of Technology. I stopped. I wanted to be a nurse, but I couldn't stand blood. So did a lot of stuff. But I got cancer. And the cancer made me have to be still. And I'm saying this, that sometimes you have to be still to let that spiritual voice get into your head and slow you down and say, I've already given you everything you need. What you looking for? And that's why I went into the hair care business. I went to Africa to study, South Africa, West Africa. I went to Europe. I went to London in Europe to study. I've gone all over the continent, from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South, to become the very best at what I do. And I'm doggone good. So that's what you have to do. Open up your mind. Don't say no to anything. And don't let anybody else kill your dreams.
That's right.
Okay?
Yes, Mom.
What was that first question?
My first question was,
How?
I was asking that I have a lot of different interests, and I wanted to know how I could, if you had any advice of how I could be successful in life.
Yeah, I think I kind of put that into my answer, but yeah, try it all. Try it all, because you know, you got a long, long life, and the things that you find that you're not interested in as much, move on to the next thing.
All right, thank you, my sister. Let's give her another round of applause. And I want to also first start out by saying I'm grateful and thank you all for recognizing not only us as elders, but also that we have lots of things to share, sometimes in the most simplest things, sometimes in the most complex, and again, a dialogue between all of us at all of our various ages. I want to first compliment you. You're a very articulate young woman. You carry yourself extremely well, and your appearance is wonderful. So I want to give you those accolades already. That's a good start. One of the first things, and I work with everybody, I say from womb to the elders, attune. And with younger students and other ages, one of the first things I ask them, that's why I ask each of you to share your name, to be used to just presenting yourself as who you are. That's important. And so being able to be proud of who you are, saying who you are, saying your name very confidently, very stridently is very, very important. We've heard we come from kings and queens, and so I just remind us to act like it. Would a regal woman do this? Would a regal man do this? Would a king do that? Would a queen do that? And if the answer is no, then stop. We, as queens, and you can look up Queen Nzinga, you can look up a woman called Queen Tai, Queen Hatshepsut. There are so many queens that have done so much. They were great artisans in different skills. They were great businesswomen and financiers. They were great in terms of how they carried themselves and how they looked and presented themselves. And they were great in terms of being great statesmen. I don't like the word politician, but great statesmen and women in terms of how they ruled, and great leaders. And so you're already exemplifying those things. When it comes to the entrepreneurship and the various interests, for me, I found that I say two things. Follow the path that has a heart. That's the first. And the second thing I say is do in life what is necessary, and the good things will come to you. Now, sometimes doing a basic job that a lot of people would not necessarily think has great esteem. Even like my brother here, working very key positions. There's a play called A Day of Absence written in 1968, Douglas Turner Ward. He talks about if black folks disappeared, and at first they were talking about African Americans. But think if all indigenous people disappeared off the face of the earth, we wouldn't have nothing.
That's right. That's right.
This cell phone is designed by a person of African descent.
It is.
Y'all got one, right? If you don't know, it's a guy named Henry Sampson. Samson. I don't know if Samsung took it, but anyway. Designed also the internet. We know about Hidden Figures now from the film. And that's why for me, I describe myself as an artist, an activist, and an educator. Because as an artist, art records history. There wouldn't be anything in this room if it wasn't for the arts. Being a scientist is an art. So that being an electrician is an art. We know about Lewis Ladder to keep all these gorgeous lights lit. Okay? We know that everything, the basic things, the chairs wouldn't be here, our clothes wouldn't be here, nothing, the building wouldn't be here. It's all a part of arts. Stories, talking, telling, books, films. It's all arts. Arts records history. We wouldn't know nothing about nothing if it wasn't for the arts. Okay? So we've got the mirrors, which I'm told, instead of using the word pyramid, are there to remind us of our greatness. And so I say to you, when I first started, I was quote unquote just being a kid. And gratefully, my parents listened and liked my interests. So I did study and I learned a lot and I did a lot of different things. I was able to recognize that the arts would be a way I could combine a lot of interests. And at the same time, I did also want to be a doctor and a veterinarian, but I realized the arts is actually a healing modality. When you dance, when you perform, when you sing, there's a proverb that says singing's like praying twice. So in a lot of ways, sometimes just by being yourself, you'll actually be accomplishing some of those things. I like collecting dolls. I'm a grown woman, but I was like, I'm going to have an international doll collection. And I was blessed. At 14, I went to a all-white Russian ballet camp, okay? I was the only little brown thing in there. And at that time, of course, they kind of pushed you to the back if you were brown, you know. However, a woman by the name of Catherine Dunham, who ended up being a very famous choreographer, and she combined rigid techniques like ballet and modern with loose techniques, African and Afro-Haitian. And she became very famous, got her PhD in anthropology and dance. She came to this white ballet camp and started showing me some Haitian dance, the Yon Volu, you know. And she became also a Haitian priest as well. And she did her dances from the Haitian tradition as well. And so I have to say this because it's all connected. She was able to study and understand, when you see our families getting happy in church, it's the same thing all over the world. There's only one source. Everybody knows there's one. Don't get confused over the different names. There's different languages, people. And it's been distorted that folks think that the sun is a god. Our people, you ain't that stupid. However, if you got to wake up every morning and you don't see the sun, don't you know something's wrong? So the sun is revered. And so as a sacred, divine entity, because it's part of what the source has put here, it's therefore a God. There's a proverb that says we are an evolving God, because we have a choice every day. Are we going to act God-like, things that promote life? Or are we going to add, quote, devilish, things that destroy life? So we have that choice every day. So that's what the choice is. If you don't recognize the divinity in a tree, that's how you can destroy the trees. Do you remember in science, especially those of us that are older, that you know what breathe the plants throw out they take in the carbon that we throw out. We need the oxygen, right? We need the trees or else we can't breathe. So when they say the tree is a god, the earth is a god, they're only talking about the sacredness, the divinity in that. If you don't see that being divine and take care of it as though you would take care of anything of high value, then we won't be around. That's why Mother Earth is pissed, and she be opening up and swallowing people up, and I don't know how the fires got started in California, but I know they burned up a whole lot of people, and some people said there were a couple of areas that were known for the racism, that they burned down whole areas. You know, we know places where DC had an earthquake. Since when? I lived in California, moved because of earthquakes, and what? I come back here and we had one? What? So I say all that to say, you got to follow your heart. And so for me, when it came to Catherine Dunham, she came to me and I did not know. Now I said, and again, watch what you say. Use all positive words, whatever it is you want to accomplish in life. Even people you don't like, I suggest, God bless you. Send them a prayer, even though you really want to say something else, you know? So I say that because I had said I wanted to travel around the world. I wanted to be wait a minute. I was going to be a tour guide for the United Nations and speak 7 languages fluently. That was one of my goals when I was in New York. I was like, hey, because all the international people around, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's there from all over the world. They come into the UN in this place, you know? So that was a goal. But I got a chance at 14 to be asked to dance with Catherine Dunham in the French Riviera. Wow. I was like, and my parents were like, go where, what, with who? Because my parents didn't know anything about that particular woman and all that she had accomplished at that time. But since that time, I've been able to travel. Literally, I've traveled around the world because of the arts. I lived in Japan studying the arts. I've traveled in many, many places and continents. So, look at your goals, follow your heart, and sometimes the opportunities will just open up. At the same time, make plans. Plan for what you want to happen. And I suggest this. If you have a loose plan, like for instance, there's a skeleton, then sometimes how it gets filled in, some of that'll be what you learn along the way. You can add to it, you can embellish it, you can add something in. I call myself the dancing diplomat, so I am now an official tour guide. I got a award for being the best tour guide in Washington, D.C. Because when one school where I was teaching, African Centered School, Tree of Life, it closed. And I was like, I can't go just into any old school, so what am I going to do? I ended up finding out they needed tour guides. So I already know history. I can talk. So I became a tour guide. And so I add the information a lot of people might not have when they get on some of these conventional tour buses, you know. That opened up, and now I'm actually working to develop a resort in another country for retreats and historical information because, you know, we need to travel more and we need to organize ourselves as a business. There's a black tourism industry that I'm just finding out about. So I want to take both my interests and skills and now add to that. So that's added to what I'd already done. So you can do it all, just not all at one time. I also was asked to be somebody's campaign manager. Now, I don't usually like politicians. This person I trust, they work for the community, and I decided that I would assist them. I can assist them in interfacing with people and recognizing people, having people support them. So now I have a whole nother career as a campaign manager. That's not something I expected to do. But you never know what life is going to open up for you, and you can decide to take those roads or take another road. But be open. You're getting excellently trained, obviously. Study what you don't know. They say black folks are good at certain skills. Sometimes we don't study enough about business to know how to do what it is we need to do. Like you can cook, but do you know how to run a restaurant? You know, those kinds of examples. So, you know, keep it up. You'll be fine. And listen to your elders.
Now, I can't piggyback off of something that these wonderful ladies said, because what they said is natural truth. They are smart. You can tell that. They are well educated. They've been around the world. They've done a little bit of everything. But what I will say, and I'm piggybacking off of Dr. Martin Luther King a little bit, and if you look in my book, you'll see the quotation written in the back. Be the best that you can be, whatever you do. If you are a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper you can be. And that's what my parents instilled in me, that whatever you do the best you can do. And that's why I worked at the White House for 34 years, because I cleaned chandeliers that nobody could clean like I clean. Now, some of them I had to put 18 and 20 hours on one chandelier. Had 7,007 pieces of crystal, and I had to clean them. And that thought came into me every time I started getting tired. The thought would come into my heart and in my mind to be the best you can be. And thank God I was the best that could be done. Nobody else there could do what I did. Because when I started cleaning the chandeliers, they did not have a chandelier cleaner. So when I started cleaning them, and after I started cleaning them so good, they changed my title from a window washer to a custodial specialist. That was my title, a custodial specialist. I cleaned and repaired chandeliers.
I get it.
Yes, and it was wonderful. When you buy my book, you look in the book, and it'll tell you, be the best you can be.
I had to pull up this picture because if you haven't seen it, this is what we talk about when we're talking about a chandelier.
Yes.
This is no ordinary chandelier.
She's right. It's
So
not
if
an
you can
ordinary
see
chandelier.
him,
Oh, that's him up there.
that's him up there.
That's me. Thank God.
The chandelier is about 3 times as large as he is. Now, we had some chandeliers in my house, and we had to take the little things off. How many people had those? You had to take them off and clean them, okay? You remember those chandeliers? And you better not drop one. They were glass, okay? So can you imagine? I'm going to ask him, did you ever break any?
No, indeed.
He never broke any all the time. That's a record. And that's important. I mean, to be the best you can be at whatever you do.
Whatever you do, be the best you can be.
One snip. Ooh.
Yeah. And I give all credit to God. I thank God for me being the best I could be, because when I got out of a window, I was praying. When I got up on the scaffold that was ceiling high, I was praying. And all of my prayers helped me to be the best that I could be. So always keep God in whatever you do.
Sorry, I missed that.
Thank you.
Okay, now I know we're running low on time, so we could just please keep our comments brief, and that way we can get more people in the room, questions answered. Anybody else have a question for the elders? Yes, sir.
Do you think that the impact of the longest furlough in American history will move more people to find alternate ways of drawing in income?
I'm going to answer first and short. The answer is yes. And if people didn't learn during that time, hopefully they'll be learning now. We got to create our own businesses. Wall Street, we had our own airports, our own bus companies, hotels, and banks. I mean, we had all those things, and we still do on smaller scales. So we just have to continue to do that. For Black History by Black, 365 days of the year. White folks don't talk about boycotting us. They just don't come to your store.
That's right.
So we used to support each other continually, so we have to continue to do that. So encourage your families that don't, but the answer to that is yes. So.
Anybody else?
When milk went on strike one time, I remember that my father was the only person in the neighborhood that had a flatbed truck. And he used to drive to New Jersey, get all of the milk that he could get on that truck, and come to the projects and give the milk to our neighbors. Most of the neighbors, like you were saying, brother, my father wouldn't let my mother get on no welfare. Most of those people that got milk would give my father something. So they didn't have any money. They had no money. But if we could learn how a person could have a chicken and a person could have a pot, we could get together and boil that chicken and feed our children. When people went on strike, people went on furlough this time, nobody really talks about it. But in those tight communities where people are allowed to spank your kids without you trying to shoot them, they were doing just that. They were helping each other. And that's what we have to do. You always got to have a hustle, as my mother said. She used to do people's hair out of our house, and my father went to work every day. On Saturdays, they used to sell dinners. So we do what we have to do, and this was one way to wake people up. You ain't always going to have a good government job. Not necessarily.
Contractors and all.
I had a question. I noticed all three of you guys have raised children that are professional or that are, just good, all around good people. And so I'm wondering, and you all had careers in the process. So I'm wondering, what is missing, you think, these days in rearing our children up to be quality, good, well-rounded, overall good people that was present back then but is missing now for the parents in the room?
I'd love to answer that question. I think now, more so than ever in our lifetime, we are allowing TV and games and babysitters who don't give one hoot about your children to take care of them and raise them. I stayed home with mine. We had not a whole lot. My husband worked, but I stayed home with my kids, and I was a hustler. I would sell paintings that I did. I would wash people's clothes in the laundry room, whatever I had to do to make a little bit of extra money. But I say this, I wanted to be the first one to see the teeth fall out. I want to be the first one to see the teeth grow in. I want to be the first one to see you get a good aim in the toilet. I wanted to be the first. I didn't want anybody else to have that. As a result, both my sons and my grandsons have a very close, tight relationship with us. And they come to us, and we go to them. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing scary. There's nothing secret. Up to and including one of my sons said, "Mom, I'm not sure if I'm straight or gay." A lot of people would go off the deep end, but we had already seen this very, very, very early and talked to him about it. I don't care if you decide that you want to catch worms and raise them, if that's what your job is. I don't care if you want to raise roaches, if that's what your job is. It's like the brother said, be the best at it. You have to be able to come to your parents and say, "Dad, Mom, this is what I love. This is what I want to do." A lot of my friends were spiritualists, and they couldn't even understand that our son wanted to do secular music. What have you been teaching him? I've been teaching him to be open and love music for the sake of music. You're saying that my son can't do hair because everybody's going to say he's gay? Say what you will. His name is Shanti, and he's the best. I don't care what you call him, as long as you spell his name right. Okay? And because he knows we love him like that my husband and I and my family love him that way, he's so assured. He does it all, doesn't he, Algamar? Yes, he does. He's a wonderful, wonderful man who has star clientele, who travels doing hair, and he is a wonderful person who is also a musician. So, I gave you my card. We're in Temple Hills, down the street from Iverson Mall, but he does travel to do folks' hair.
He does celebrity hair.
Yeah, he does celebrity hair and travels all over doing that. So my answer is, if you don't have a tight relationship with your children who become adults, because a lot of times we're like, "You're my child, You're an adult. Let's talk like adults. And when you're a child, the parent has to listen to see where the kid's head is at. And then if it's going in the right direction, lead him, guide them. That's what you're here for. That's what God charges us with.
All right, I have three answers. One is internal discipline. The second one is external discipline. And the third one comes from nature. All birds create a nice, comfortable nest for their babies in order to lay the eggs, nurture the eggs. Baby bird learns how to fly. They flutter a little bit, maybe to a few branches. Then they slowly flutter around maybe the tree, and then slowly but surely they get lessons on how to go learn longer and further. Okay? No baby bird initially gets taught to, fly across country on its first route. So there's increments in terms of learning. But the other thing is, when it's time to leave the nest, eagles have thorns at the bottom of that nest. And they start stirring up them thorns. And it gets a little uncomfortable for them babies once they get to a certain age to be there. And when it's time for them to go, the eagles turn up all those thorns. It's like, it's time to go, baby. I done taught you all the lessons you need to know. And children must learn from us. And then they have to be prepared to be in the world alongside us, with us, and then without us, because they have their life and their journey. And they need internal discipline. Internal discipline is your spiritual guide. I'm open to however one people choose. I do believe there's only one God, one aim, one destiny. So whatever name you choose, Star Wars, they said the source be with you, the force be with you. Whatever term you want to give. But I can't make the stars come up. I can't make the sun and moon come up as much as I love them. There's another force that's there. Recognizing that force, and also there's some of that force within you for your own destiny. The other is external discipline. If you do not train your child and give them some limits and direction, and then with age and experience and skill, give them a little more space, a little more direction, a little more opportunity to show themselves and be proud about their accomplishments, and give them a little more instruction. It's got to be over a period of time, but you got to give discipline. Them taking religion out of the schools, there's not even a moment of silent prayer to be had in the schools. And there's no discipline. If you don't know, corporal punishment is labeled to be, I will not talk in class. If you have a child write that, that's corporal punishment, and you will be fired from your job. So when you hear these teachers are being fired for corporal punishment, they didn't necessarily put their hand on a child at all. They didn't necessarily speak badly to the child. If you have your child write, I will not talk in class. I had to write 100 times. Can y'all tell I talked a lot? My hands were tired. Those kinds of things, I think, worked. And I think we need to have similar, they threw the baby out with the bathwater because they know what works for us. How do you think we accomplish all the great things we accomplished from the beginning of time till now? All the inroads we made from the 60s. We went from a black and I'm proud, I hope I don't insult anybody, to Cardi B, Cardi B, Cardi. I mean, what? We go from queens to what? You know? So, even though I allow women to represent themselves any way they want, when more of our girls are talking about being on a pole as a life goal skill, that's a problem for me. Because within that industry, like she talks about, there's so much abuse. And I tell the girls, like I was told, be a lady in the streets. And you know what? When you at home with your, you know what I'm saying? You can be as freaky as you want. But in the streets, you're straightforward. You carry yourself like a queen and lady. So internal discipline, external discipline. And yes, you are allowed to slightly swat your child. Of course, you can't beat them up, you know. But, you know, some people think they can't put their hands on their children all. Because if you don't, who's going to come get them in the next few years if they ain't listening to you? They'll be picking them up in a mitten and putting them in them slave holes, you know, that they call prisons. And if you haven't watched the movie 13, watch it, because they are planning to keep us enslaved. So check it out.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first, I give all my honor to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Secondly, I give the rest of my honor to my darling wife. We were married for 55 years. We never broke our marriage vows. She gave me 4 sons, 2 daughters, and 11 grandchildren. She was the best homemaker in the world. She taking care of my children while I worked at the White House for state dinners, all kind of different ceremonies where I had to work late at night. But when I came home, she was waiting for me. When I pulled up in my driveway, which is right by my kitchen door, my wife was there helping me to come in the door. She had a fruit bun and a cup of tea for me. Don't care what time I came home from work, she was there waiting for me. And when I come in, the first thing she would say, "Darling, how was your day?" And I said, "Pretty good, honey, but I worked hard." I said, "Where's the kids?" She said, "All of them asleep." And I said, "Which one showed off?" I said, "You let them know because tomorrow I'm going to get them." Yeah. And she said, "No, everything was fine, honey." I said, "No problem." So I sat down at the table with my wife. We drank tea. I drank tea, she drank coffee, and had fruit bun. After I finished, I told her, "I'm going right, take me a hot shower because I got to get right back up and go to work 6 o'clock in the morning." And she said, "I understand." I went back in the bathroom, take me a quick shower, 2-3 minute shower, lay down across the bed. In about 5 minutes time, my wife came in. She had put her gown on. She come in and she looked at me. She said, "Honey, you real tired?" I said, "No, not too bad, honey." She grabbed me by the back of my head like she always did. I wondered why I had that little knot in the back of my head. But that's where she would do. She would grab me by that little knot in my head and she'd pull my head over, said, "Lay on these pillows." That's how far I'm going to go with that. But I will tell you one thing. I was late the next morning getting to work. That's the kind of wife I had. And I'll tell you the truth. My daughter is just like her mother. She's just like her mother. She looked like her mother, and she chastised me like her mother. Because when I was wrong, my wife told me I was wrong. I apologized to her and made sure that I would make it up. But whenever her and I had a conversation that wasn't like we thought it should be, we had it in the bedroom, just her and I. The children never seen us disrespect them. We never walked back and forth through the house unpresentable. My wife, if she had a short sleeve blouse on, and my son, she seen my son coming through the house, she would go in and take that short sleeve blouse off because she didn't want her son to see the fat of her breast. She would get a nice another shirt or blouse or whatever and put on with a long sleeve. She was one of the decentest women I've ever met. I say women, but I mean lady. She was a very nice lady. I loved her then. I love her now. And I love her always. I loved her when she passed, 2013. She passed on Independence Day. And it was such a day because every chance I had, I would take my family down to the White House on the lawn and watch them. We all used to watch fireworks. And she loved fireworks. But just so that God blessed it and made it possible for her to pass in our living room, with a whole 6 children right there with her. On Independence Day, we were taking her down the steps to get into the wagon. You all know what I'm talking about. And when we started walking down the steps, all of the fireworks down at the monument went off and lit up the sky. And all of us we couldn't believe it. We said, God is welcoming her into heaven. And the more I talk about her, the more it comes to me. I'll be crying if I keep talking about her because I miss her so much. And she was the backbone of me being able to work at the White House for 18, 19, 20 hours, whatever it takes. She would be waiting for me. And I did everything possible to make sure that she was well welcome as a wife, as a mother, as a grandmother, look, as a great-grandmother. Look, she gave me 11 grandchildren. 11 grandchildren, 4 sons and 2 daughters. And thank God, I'm giving all credit to God, none to me. All credit to God that all of my sons, all 4 of them, and my 2 daughters, they never been in trouble. They never smoked drugs. They never drank alcohol. And they lived 3 blocks from me in my neighborhood. My oldest son, next to my oldest son, have bought their own homes and things on the same street that their father lived on. And they said that they did that for when Mom and Daddy got old, they would come over and help us whenever we needed it. And now that I've lost my wife, my sons come over and help me cut grass, they help me rake leaves, and they help me watch football games. So I have a wonderful family, and I give all credit to God and to my wife. Because if it wasn't for God and my wife, I would not have been able to work at that White House. Because the only reason I could make it there was because I worked by myself. All the work that I did was by myself. If you see me sitting up on that scaffold, I was sitting up there where if I stood up, my head would hit the ceiling. That's how high I was. But I had to bend my neck so I could clean the inside of the feathers around the glass feathers around the top of the chandelier. And it wasn't an easy job. And a lot of times I was suffering up there because it was a hard job, and I know how many hours I had to do it. And I only closed the house down for 13 days, and that was the beginning of the Christmas season, where all of the other guys and ladies, they were hanging wreaths in the windows, putting up Christmas trees, and putting up garland around the ceiling and things. I was up on the scaffold. Yes, and I thank God that I was able to stay there for 34 years, nothing but honor all the time. I won all kind of awards. Let me mention this right quick, then I'm going to stop. One day I was going through the Treasury Department. Now all this is in my book. One day I was going to the Treasury Department. We used to cut through the Treasury Department and go up 14th Street to the Riggs National Bank and cash our checks. One day on my way back, I come back through the Treasury Department. And that was a piece of paper, 3 pieces of paper, laying face down in the Treasury in the hallway. I picked it up, turned it over, and I looked at it for about 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm trying to figure out just what this price was. It was $14,856,000 that I found this check was. It was made out to the Treasury Department. Right away, all kind of thoughts went through my head. You know, some of the guys said, why didn't you pull up a tractor trailer and say, fill it up? I said, man, what are you talking about? They said, take it home and hang it up on the wall. God spoke to me, said, you turn that check in to where it's supposed to be turned in. If it's not, you ain't going to have no job. On the paper, it said room 202. I carried the check to room 202, knocked on the door, and went in. And the secretary asked me, said, can I help you, sir? And I said, yes. And I said, my name is Stewart Stevens. I have my pass hanging on. And I said, I just found this check in the hallway for $14,856,000. And I said, they said it should have been delivered here. I said, so that's where I delivered it. And the gentleman come out, thanked me, asked for my name and everything, and I told him I worked at the White House. They sent a letter to the White House and told my supervisor how honest a person I was to turn that in. There was nothing I could do with it for us cashing it, but it cost the government a lot of money and hard times to find the check. And they said that. And I was just so happy. My boss called me and told me the letter that I got. So I went around and told all the guys in the White House. I said, well, I'm going to get a finder's fee, man. And I said, I'm going to leave here and leave you guys here. And they said, come on, Steve, you telling a lie. I said, man, I'm not lying. I said, I found a check for $14,856,000. I said, if I get 1 penny for finder's fee, I said, I'm going to be something and I'm not going to be with you guys. And they said, well, we're going to see about that, because we don't believe you found it. Okay, a month or so went by, and my supervisor called me back up to the office, Mr. Rex Scott. And he said, Steve, said, we just got a letter from the Park Service, and we got an award for you. They had a big certificate. I have all that at home. It's all in the book. You can read everything in the book. He said, I got a check for you, and we got a big certificate for you. And I said, well, thank you, sir. I sure appreciate it. I couldn't wait to get this check, because I know this was going to put me over the top. I got the check. The check was $50.
Oh, no.
And they taking out $10 for taxes. Yeah. This was in 1974. Right, there was a lot of money. Yeah. I hate to say it, but I really believe if I hadn't been along to this race, I believe I would have got that 1% finder fee. No, back in 1974, they wasn't going to give me that kind of money. So I went through the carbon shop and I had my check up and I shook it. I said, I told you all I was going to get it, didn't I? I told you I was going to get it. They all hollered, come on, Steve, let me see. Show me how much it is. I said, all right. I said, I'm going to show you guys just how much I got. And I held it up and they looked at me and said, oh, man. I said, that's all they gave me was $50 and taking out $10 for taxes.
Okay.
And it's in the book. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
I just want to add one thing. I was a single parent, and so that's one of the reasons why I talked about the village. Make sure if there is not a male consistently in your household to assist, because our daughters and sons all need male figures. You've got uncles, you've got cousins, brothers here in this room. Talk to a friend of yours, see if they're willing. Each one of my children, I have 5, I raised 10, each one of my children had a council of elders. So they each, and they knew, they committed at their birth, and they committed through their life that they would be there for these children. So you got to have people assist you. I toured with a lot of people. Stevie Wonder is one of them. I took my kids with me. I was in the studio till 11 o'clock every night. So they were raised in the dance company and the theater companies. However, we had the kind of integrity. There wasn't any drugs and illicit behavior going on. So they were in a healthy community. So you got to have a healthy community to raise your children. So make sure you have men and women assistants and villagers for you. All right?
All right, family. We're running out of time. Like I mentioned, there is another event that's coming right after ours. So we don't have, if you have any other questions, I'm sure they don't mind hanging around for a couple of minutes to answer your questions. But please give our elders a round of applause, please. Yes, this is great. We definitely got to do this more often. Thank you guys so much. All right, so we got about another 50 minutes or so for shopping and before we have to get up out of here. So please, oh, you're quite welcome. I enjoy what I do.
I just have one thing. I gave out cards. Please invite me to your schools, your churches, your cookouts, your family outings, your weddings, anytime there's family gatherings. I'm more than welcome to come and fine-tune and customize a presentation for your families, your schools, your churches, etc. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so and I have a sign-up list in the back. So if anybody want to get on that, because we send a reminder. So for our next event, you'll be on our reminder list, and we send you out either a text message or email, let you know what's going on, what you can anticipate. But every first Saturday of the month, find us right here at the Black Wall Street Renaissance. Thanks again.
Get us from the waist up.
Yep, I got the whole thing. All right. One more.
All right, we want a picture with the children.
Wait a minute. One more.
Kaleem, come here.
You want to take a picture with all the children?
Any children still left? Yeah. Steven, we need you to be in our picture.
Y'all stop fun.
You went to go fill the water, but it's taking so long.
Excuse me, my sister.
Yes.
I just want to tell you, I am so very proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
I am too. I think that people